Can Sean O'Malley beat Aljamain Sterling? After UFC 288, it was pretty much set in stone that Sean O'Malley will be the next challenger for the UFC Bantamweight title, and it was actually just recently announced that the fight will take place in August.
On August 19th, the fight everybody's been waiting for, Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley.
A classic striker versus grappler matchup. Comparing each fighter, looking at their skills, attributes, and best route to success, starting with the champ Aljamain Sterling, I believe that he has two keys to success. Number one being you need to get the fight up against the cage, and number two, you need to get those flipping hands up, Aljo. I feel like getting the fight up against the cage is like quite obvious for being the grappler that Aljamain is, but for one particular reason. I don't believe that Aljamain Sterling actually has very good takedowns at all. I would actually argue that Petr Yan has a better pure takedown, a better pure shot out in the open than Aljamain Sterling does. Aljo just does a very, very bad job of telegraphing his shots. He like leads with his head and kind of just like puts his arms out. And I don't know if maybe that's why he had neck problems, because he's just jamming his neck into people. But he doesn't do a very good job of, hiding his shots. Like if you saw in the Marlon Moraes fight, he telegraphed that shot horribly, and that's how he got knocked out. I do believe that Aljo has his best success when he gets the fight up against the cage. That's when he can implement a lot of his trips. He can even do things where he goes around to the back, but also just his build. He's long, is like perfect for getting guys up against the cage, getting that body lock and just start working trips. And I believe that is his best way to get a lot of his opponents down. And then number two, getting your hands up, I feel like it's quite obvious, but there was multiple times in his last fight against Cejudo, and Cejudo's 5'4", when Aljo would just have his hands down. I remember Joe Rogan pointed out a few times that Aljo had his hands down a lot.
Aljo fights with his hands so low. But he's throwing those kicks, his hands are very low.
And Cejudo was catching him with a few shots clean here and there just because Aljo wasn't respecting it. He was keeping his hands down. You absolutely positively cannot do that against somebody like Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is not 5'4". He's almost 6 feet tall. A lot rangier, a lot better of a striker as well, a lot more pop. You don't want to take one clean shot and then figure out, oh, I need to get my hands up. I would get those hands up the whole time, because you get hit with one shot, you get buzzed, next thing you know, you get hit with another clean shot, and then you don't know where you're at. And then looking at Sean O'Malley's keys to success, I believe he has two as well. Number one being he needs to have good conditioning, and number two, he needs to stay away from the cage, he needs to have good movement. The conditioning part I feel like is quite obvious. Sean O'Malley has never fought a 5-round fight inside of the UFC, and he's never fought 25 minutes against somebody like Aljamain Sterling, as good of a grappler as somebody like Aljamain Sterling. He's had pretty much like 10 months, almost a year to prepare for this fight, so he has plenty of time to really prepare for the grappling cardio that is going to be needed for this fight, but also just getting your body healthy, getting your body ready for a 25-minute war is going to be key. And then number two, the movement part, staying away from the cage. That's obvious because Aljamain Sterling is a phenomenal grappler, and like I said, I believe his best success to getting the fight to the ground is when he's up against the cage. If Sean can implement good movement, he does a good job moving side to side, not being predictable. If he can do that, stay on his bike, keep hitting Aljo with just straight shots, pepper him with straight shots. You definitely want to stay away from the cage early on in the fight, at least the first 2 rounds when you're still a little bit dry, because if Aljo gets on your back or something, gets you to the ground, that could be a very, very dangerous spot. And these 2 points pretty much just parlay together, because in order to have good movement, you need to have good conditioning for 25 minutes, because this is absolutely going to be a tough fight, and honestly, a very tough fight to predict. I do believe that the sooner this fight happens, the quicker turnaround it is. That happening in August, I think, is actually worse for Aljo. I think this favors Sean O'Malley, because Aljo will have cut weight like 4 times in a little bit over a year, which is absolutely not good, especially for somebody who's as big as Aljo, who cuts as much weight as Aljo. And being in 25-minute wars that many times in pretty much a year span is not good for your body. It's not good for your brain. I mean, you saw Gilbert Burns, who fought like 3 times in the past like 4 months or whatever it is, and how his body responded to that. He's falling apart. Like, he has a whole list of injuries, and he didn't look that good in his last fight. The weight cuts too could just take a toll on his brain, that sort of stuff, and then going in there fighting somebody like Sean O'Malley, who's got the power, the pop, and as good of a striker as he is, taking shots to the brain, that cannot be good. Overall though, I mean, if you guys want a prediction, I think this is a very hard fight to predict, and it's very early to predict, but on May 22nd, I'll give you guys a very early prediction. I believe that Sean O'Malley will probably beat Aljamain Sterling. I know I'm going to probably get a lot of flack for that. I've said Sean O'Malley's championship material for a long time, got flack for it. Here he is fighting for the title. I wouldn't be surprised if Aljo goes in for a crappy shot. Maybe Sean has good movement throughout the entire fight. Aljo gets a little bit frustrated, goes in for just a shot, an open shot, gets caught with a knee, something maybe similar to the Marlon Moraes fight when he got knocked out by Marlon Moraes. I do think Sean has a good ability to read when people are going for takedowns. I mean, you saw in the Petr Yan fight. Who knows though? We'll find out. We'll see. Let me know in the comment section below though, who are you guys taking in this fight? How do you guys see this fight playing out? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.